Hi, this is Letty. I want to talk to you about a skill that you need to know if you want to call yourself an Excel power user. It's lookups. There are two kinds of lookups, HLOOKUPs and VLOOKUPs. The H stands for horizontal and the V for vertical. How do you know which one you're going to need? Well, you have to look at your data in the table that you're going to use for the lookup. Here is an example of a table that has products with a product ID, a product name, and a product price. Now, when you add more data, is your data going to grow sideways, horizontally, or is it going to grow up and down vertically? In the example on the right, if we add another product, it's going to grow vertically, and that means if you're referring to this data, you need a VLOOKUP. Now, in the example on the bottom, if I were to put in more grade points, my data would grow sideways, horizontally, and so I would need to use an HLOOKUP to have my formula refer to this table. When you do a lookup, what you're saying is look up the value of something and then tell me what another row or column in that table where it's looking things up says. So for instance, if I say, please look up this student's grade, he got an 83%, well, they would go and look at the bottom table, this formula would, and it would look in here and it would say, have I reached 82%? And it would say yes. And it would say, have I reached 85%? And it would say no. So it would look back here. And then if you told the formula, please return what's in row 2, it would return the B minus. If you said, please return what's in row 3, it would return 2.7. If that horizontal lookup was saying, I need to find their exact number, it wouldn't work, because if a student gets 83, it's actually just between 82 and 85. So we have to say not an exact match, but an approximate match. Now here on the top, if we're referring to this, and I said, please can you tell me how much product HEW costs? Well, I would create a vertical lookup and I would say, please look up HEW and then return to me column 1, 2, 3. And column 3 is where the price is. And it would tell me $29.95. That's the way lookups work. They have tables of data where they're going to look, and basically you're going to tell it what to look up and which column or row to return to you. So here's how it works. The first part, let's look at the formula down here. The first part of the formula is to just enter equal VLOOKUP, and then you start having to give it 3 or 4 arguments. In most cases you'll do 4 arguments, and so you separate those with commas. So the first argument is, what am I looking up? Well, I want you to look up the product name or code. So please look at what's in G2. Where am I going to look is the next argument. So put in a comma, tell it the next argument. Well, my table is in A1 to C36. If I named my data range, my table, I could have called it products, and then I would say look up G2 in comma products and then comma. The next argument right here, there's the 3. The next argument is which column has the answer. When you're using a VLOOKUP, you're saying which column. When you're using a horizontal lookup, you have to say which row. Well, the column that has what I want to know is the 3rd column, so I just say number 3. And the last argument is, will this be an approximate match or an exact match? In this case, I don't want it to be CW something else or something else than CW. I want it to be only exactly the product name CW. So I have to use the argument false for an exact match. This will be less confusing to you when you're actually creating your formula, because you'll be prompted to enter either true or false, and it actually tells you approximate match or exact match, and then you'll know which one to pick. It's hard to necessarily attach the words true or false to exact or approximate. Anyway, that's the way it works. I'm going to pause now and let's get in a regular spreadsheet and I'll show you how to create this in action. Okay, well here I am in our spreadsheet and I have my data over here to show my product table. If I want to look up a product, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I have some named ranges, and then I'm going to use data validation to limit my choice to a list. In this case, I want to be able to choose product ID. Now, I'm going to use my name box to see, nope, no named ranges. Okay, that means I'm going to get into my data, do Control A, that selects my whole area, and I'm going to do the formulas, create from selection. I'm going to get rid of the left column choice. I don't need that. And I'm going to take my names from the top row. Okay. So now when I look in my name box, I have product ID, name, and price. Beautiful. When I select product ID, it actually selects exactly those products that I need in order to use a list. So now all I have to do to refer to that list is refer to it in a data validation. So I'm going to click in this cell, go to data, data validation, and I'm going to tell it that this cell can contain anything from this list. Now when you refer to a list in data validation, you have to put an equal sign first. Students often forget that, and it just won't work if you don't use an equal sign before your list name. If you were typing in a custom list, you wouldn't have to do the equal sign, but when you're referring to a named range, you have to. So this was product underscore ID, and I don't have to make sure it's case, it's not case sensitive, so I don't have to capitalize, but I do have to spell it exactly right. I'll say OK. Now you can see that I've got a pull down arrow and I can actually choose any one of the products from the list. Beautiful. That's working perfectly. Well, now it's time for me to do some lookups. I want to look up in this column that looks to the second column to tell me if I look at HEW, where is that? It's going to return to me homeware electric walk. So that's why I want it to return here. It's going to look at what I chose here, and it's going to go look at my data table, and it's going to return to me column number 2. This one is going to look at this, whatever I chose here, and it's going to return to me column number 3. So let's start the lookups. The first thing is I need to make sure that my whole table is selected and named, and I'm going to call this products, and I'm going to make sure that it's selected and it's really choosing it right. Okay. Now, when I use my lookup, I know that I need a vertical lookup because if I were to enter more data, this would grow vertically. So I'm going to type in equals VLOOKUP. And when I see the formula prompt, I'm going to press tab to lock in my choice. Now I'm going to read the prompts down here. The lookup value, what does it want me to look up? Well, I want you to look at this, what I just chose over here in E5. Well, that's that whole argument. I'm ready for the next argument, so I'm putting in a comma. The next argument is table array. Table array is where shall I look? Where is the table or the data that has the information in it? In this case, I named it product. And I have to make sure that I pick the right ones. Actually, I named it products. Okay, next argument, I'm putting in my comma to say I'm ready for the next argument. The next argument is probably scrolled off to the right. Let me see if I can scoot this over for you to see. It's asking for the column index number. Which column in my data has the name or the information that I want it to return? In this case, it's column 2, so I'm typing in a 2. And comma, I'm ready for the last argument, and look how it actually gives you the choice of approximate match or exact match. Do I want an exact match to HEW? Yes, I do. So I'm just going to double click on false, close my parentheses and press enter, and look at that. It's returning the name of that product to me. If I want to test it, I can choose a different product. Let's see, and notice that SPP, it returns Olson Electric Grill, and if I were to find it over here, there it is, Olson Electric Grill. Now, I do have an issue. There seem to be 2 SPPs by mistake. I am going to change the second one to be a different letter. I'll choose SPB or something. When you're using an exact match, you just cannot have it have 2 things that are not unique. You can't have any repeats. If this was an approximate match, it wouldn't matter. Okay, let's see. My final formula I want in this cell, this one needs to be scooted down for the purposes of our next bit here. I'm just going to make that really big. Okay, so the next formula that I want in here is a lookup too, a VLOOKUP. And this time it's the exact same formula, but instead of returning column 2, I want column 3. So the lookup value, I still want it to look up this. This is the unique thing in the first column of the table. And when you're creating a lookup table, you need to make sure that the lookup value is the first thing. Now, if I had more data to the left of this product ID column, I could just rename the range of data to make this the first column in the range, but it just happens to be anyway. Okay, the lookup value is what I chose in E5, comma. The table array was called product, comma. The column I want to return this time is column 3, comma. And again, it's going to be an exact match. So true. And I just pressed enter and look, it's returning the price to me. So let's try with a different one. HBMD, housewares, something. I can't read it anymore because I've made them, it's bread machine deluxe. And if I widen this column, yes, it's working fine. And you can see that the price changed to the right price too. So this is how lookups work. The arguments for a lookup are: first, decide if it's horizontal or vertical data in your table where you're going to be looking up. Second, where's the lookup value? That's the thing you're choosing to look up. It might be a student's grade, it might be a product name, it could be anything. The next argument is, where should I look? Well, this is the area where I want the formula to be looking, and I named it products to refer to it very easily. The third argument was which column? Column 1, column 2, column 3. So you just literally type in 1, 2, 3. If I had 8 columns and I wanted column 8, I'd type in 8. And the last argument is this, what I'm looking up, exactly going to match something in my first column, or is it just going to be an approximate match like in grading? And in this case it's exact. And those are the arguments for a lookup. I think you'll understand them a lot better now.